Okay, so what if seeing the future wasn't just science fiction? We're going to dive into the neuroscience behind one of the most powerful substances in all of literature, the spice melange from Dune, and its frankly mind-bending ability to grant prescience.
So in the universe of Dune, the spice is, well, it's everything. It's the ultimate commodity, and its most coveted, most incredible property is that it allows certain people to literally see through time, navigating the endless possibilities of the future.
Now, on the surface, this sounds like pure fantasy. I mean, it breaks the fundamental laws of cause and effect. But, it also forces us to ask a really profound question. How does our brain even construct our perception of reality in the first place, and maybe more importantly, our experience of time?
To even start to explore this, we have to turn from fiction to fact. And believe it or not, there's a real-world molecule with such powerful effects on consciousness that it gives us an incredible starting point for this whole thought experiment.
This is N,N-dimethyltryptamine, or just DMT for short. We're talking about one of the most potent psychedelic compounds known. And here's the really wild part. Scientific studies have confirmed it's not just in some exotic plants, it's an endogenous compound, which means it's produced right inside our own bodies.
The scope of DMT is just remarkable. It's a natural part of our world, found everywhere from citrus plants to ancient shamanistic brews like ayahuasca. And at high enough concentrations, it produces these incredibly intense, immersive, and reality-altering experiences.
So how does a relatively simple molecule create such profound effects? Well, the answer lies in how it interacts with our brain's incredibly complex signaling system. It's kind of like a very specific key finding a very specific lock.
And that lock is a specific protein in the brain, the serotonin 2A receptor, or 5-HT2A for short. Neuropharmacology research shows that this is the main gateway, the primary target for most classic psychedelics.
The process is actually deceptively simple. First, DMT gets into the brain. Second, it acts as what's called an agonist, which means it binds to those 5-HT2A receptors and just lights them up, way more intensely than our own natural serotonin can. And third, this massive activation basically short-circuits the brain's normal filtering mechanisms.
And this highlights a really key idea. Our normal consciousness isn't the full picture, not even close. It's a tightly regulated version of reality that helps us survive. Think of your brain as having a security card that only lets in the most relevant sensory data. DMT doesn't really add new information. Instead, it just fires the guard and opens the floodgates to this huge wave of unfiltered sensory input.
So, if DMT can loosen the brain's grip on present-moment reality, what on earth does that mean for our perception of something as fundamental as time?
This is the key idea. Our rigid, linear experience of time, past, present, future, it isn't some fundamental law of consciousness. It's much more like a user interface, a model that's actively constructed by our brain just to help us navigate the world.
This brings us right back to Dune's Prescience. I mean, if the actual neural machinery that builds our linear timeline is disrupted by, say, a powerful 5-HT2A agonist like the spice, could our experience of that timeline just radically change?
So here's a theoretical model for how that might work. Our brains are constantly making predictions about the immediate future. So when the normal constraints are dissolved, these predictive models could just run wild. Past memories, present sensations, and potential future outcomes could all be processed at once. So this isn't about seeing one single determined future, but about experiencing this vast spectrum of possibilities, which would create the sensation of prescience.
And this whole thought experiment reveals something incredibly profound, and not just about science fiction, but about the very nature of our own everyday consciousness. Our reality is just far more malleable than we think.
This leads to a really mind-bending idea that you see in the scientific literature, that our normal, waking reality is actually a kind of controlled hallucination. It's maintained by the very same brain systems that substances like DMT disrupt. We are constantly filtering reality just to make it manageable.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway. While the spice melange and true prescience are still in the realm of fiction, the science shows us that our perception of the world is a really fragile construct. The implication is that the reality we experience isn't the absolute truth, but just one interpretation among many, sculpted by our own neurobiology.
It's a question that pushes the boundaries of neuroscience and philosophy. If our reality is just a construct, what else might we be capable of perceiving? If we could just slightly adjust the filters our brain uses every second of every day, what other layers of reality might we become aware of? It really makes you wonder about the untapped potential of the human mind.